I took my autistic brother in after our parents left him at his school nearly all night because they were arguing about my dad not wanting to deal with him anymore. They got arrested when they showed up at my house, and my mom threw her purse at an officer while dad tried defending her honor. I've been holding this in for 2 days, and I still don't know how to talk about it without my hands shaking. I don't even know what subreddit this belongs in. Confession? True off my chest? Just somewhere someone might understand what it's like to love someone so much it makes you want to scream, and to hate people who are supposed to love you right back. I don't even know how to explain what just happened without sounding insane, but I swear every word is real. I took in my autistic brother after our parents left him, literally left him, sitting outside his school until almost 9 p.m. He's 12. He's 12 years old and nonverbal. He sat outside that school for hours while the sun went down, and every single teacher and student was already home eating dinner. And when they finally showed up to get him, it wasn't even because someone remembered, it was because a cop called them. I don't know where to start, so I'll just start where I found out. Monday night, I was home watching TV when I got a call from a number I didn't know. I almost didn't answer. I wish I hadn't, but I did. It was the police, a school resource officer who was helping supervise a call from the front office at my brother's school. Apparently, they'd been trying to get a hold of someone from the emergency contact list for hours. No answer from our mom. No answer from our dad. No one on the list could get there in time. The staff had already stayed late, but it was just the officer and my brother at this point. My stomach dropped. I could hear my brother in the background making distressed sounds, his stim noises when he's scared. I hadn't heard that sound since we were kids, and he got stuck in an elevator once. I asked where they were, told them I was on my way, and I barely remembered putting shoes on before I was out the door. I'm 25. I live about 30 minutes from the school. He was still sitting on the steps when I pulled up, huddled in his hoodie and shaking like a leaf. I could have killed them. I could have killed both of my parents. The officer was patient, honestly. He told me they'd already left voicemails, documented the situation, and they were required to file a CPS report. He asked if I was able to take my brother for the night, and I just nodded, no hesitation. My brother ran to me like he was still 5 years old and I was his safe place. I didn't even think, I just held on to him. When we got back to my apartment, I set him up on the couch with his weighted blanket and Bluey reruns on YouTube. Then I called my mom. She picked up on the second ring and sounded annoyed, like I had interrupted her, like she wasn't already in the middle of a crime scene. I asked her where the hell she'd been. She just sighed like I was being dramatic and said, "Your dad and I were talking. It got heated. We forgot to check the time." Forgot to check the time. My voice broke. I asked her, "You forgot about your disabled son? You forgot he was waiting for you?" And she just said, "You don't understand how stressful it is here." That was it. That was her explanation. When I asked to talk to Dad, she said he didn't want to come to the phone. Apparently he'd been yelling that, "This is why we can't do this anymore," and "I didn't sign up to be stuck with a broken kid." Yes, her words. She told me that like it would make me feel bad for him. I hung up. I wanted to say a million things, but I just hung up. The next morning, I kept my brother home from school. I wasn't sending him back into the same routine like nothing happened. He barely slept that night. Every time I turned off the light, he whimpered and started rocking. My apartment is small, but I let him sleep in my bed, and I curled up in a blanket on the floor next to him, just like I used to when we were kids, and there was a thunderstorm, and he couldn't sleep unless he could feel me next to the mattress. I started making calls. I told the school not to release my brother to our parents under any circumstances. I gave them the police report number. I called CPS myself and explained everything, even though they already had the officer's statement. I didn't care. I wanted my name in there. I wanted someone to know he was safe now. And then they showed up. That same afternoon, around 4 p.m., there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole and it was my mom and dad, both of them standing there like nothing had happened. My brother was on the couch eating crackers and I told him to stay put, then cracked the door just an inch to see what they wanted. Before I could say a word, my mom launched into this half-sincere voice, like she was playing the role of concerned parent. She said something like, "We were thinking we could take him home now. We've had time to calm down." Like this was about them needing a breather. I said no, firm number. I said they abandoned him and I wasn't letting him go back with them. My dad stepped in and started raising his voice, said I was overreacting, that discipline and distance were good for autistic kids. That's when I realized they didn't just forget, they left him there on purpose. My stomach dropped. I asked him point blank, "Did you leave him there to prove a point?" My mom said, "Don't twist things. We needed space. Space from a 12-year-old child who cannot speak and depends on them to get through every single day." I was done. I told them to get off my porch and that if they didn't leave, I'd call the cops. And guess what? I didn't have to, because about 3 minutes later, the same school resource officer from the night before pulled into my driveway. Apparently, after I called CPS that morning, they had flagged my parents' address for follow-up, but the officer recognized my name and figured he'd check on us first. When he saw my parents yelling through the door, he asked what was going on. And my mom freaked out. I mean, full-on tantrum. She started yelling about how this is kidnapping, and she's stealing our son, and he's our child. She tried to shove past the door, and the officer told her to step back. That's when she took her purse, that huge fake leather tote she's had for like 10 years, and threw it at him. Full swing. Hit his chest. The buckle scraped his face. My dad jumped in, trying to play the hero. He started yelling, "Don't touch my wife, and she's just emotional," and tried to put his hands on the officer's arm. Next thing I know, they're both in cuffs on my front lawn. The officer called for backup, and I stood there frozen with my brother clinging to my waist. It didn't even feel real. It felt like something out of a bad movie. The whole neighborhood came outside. I saw our neighbor across the street with her phone out recording. I wanted to scream or laugh or cry, but I couldn't move. The officer apologized to me. He apologized to me while wiping blood from his cheek, said he hated to do this, but the behavior was escalating and it had to be documented. They were charged with assault on an officer and interference with a protective services investigation. I called my job and told them I needed emergency family leave. My brother hasn't been back to school yet. I've been on the phone constantly, with CPS, with lawyers, with his special ed caseworker, trying to figure out what comes next. We've had pizza for dinner 3 nights in a row because I don't know how to cook for a kid with sensory issues anymore. I'm relearning everything I forgot since I moved out. But he's okay. He's safe. He hasn't had a meltdown since that first night. He falls asleep next to me on the couch every evening and I carry him to bed. He signs thank you when I give him his breakfast. I didn't plan this. I didn't ask to be a guardian, but I swear to God, I will never let them near him again. If I have to take custody, I will. If I have to burn my relationship with our entire family to the ground, I will. Because I've seen now, really seen, what they are, and he deserves so much better than them. Update 1. My parents are trying to get custody back and say I manipulated my brother into fearing them. My mom showed up crying at his school with a Bible and security had to escort her out. I didn't expect so many people to read my post. I wrote it because I needed to get it out before I lost my mind. But I wasn't ready for the messages, or the people who said they cried reading it, or the people who shared their own stories. If you commented or messaged and I didn't reply, it's not because I didn't see you. It's because everything has been moving at 200 miles per hour, and I feel like I'm sprinting underwater. But thank you. Seriously, you reminded me I'm not crazy. So, here's the update. Strap in, because it gets worse before it gets worse. After the arrest, CPS opened a formal case and assigned a caseworker. She came to my apartment 3 days later, very polite, mid-30s, clearly exhausted from doing way too many home visits with way too little sleep. She sat down on my crusty IKEA couch while my brother watched his favorite looping Bluey video. He rewinds the part where Bluey barks 7 times in a row and giggles like it's the funniest thing he's ever heard. I told her everything. I gave her every voicemail, every text from my mom, every screenshot. I told her about the night they left him at school. I told her how he clung to me like a shadow. I didn't sugarcoat a single thing. She nodded, took notes, and finally asked me the question I've been dreading. Are you prepared to become his legal guardian if the court deems your parents unfit? I didn't even hesitate. I said yes. It just came out. I didn't have a plan. I still don't. But I looked over at him and thought, no one else is coming for him. And I knew. The next morning, I started Googling family lawyers. That same day, my parents lawyered up. Apparently, once they sobered up from the whole getting arrested on the lawn incident, they realized this wasn't just a blip. They realized they could lose him, and losing him meant losing the disability checks. Yeah, forgot to mention that little detail. My brother's on full benefits. SSI, Medicaid, and a monthly stipend for developmental support services. I never thought much about it before. But the day after the incident, I noticed my mom's Facebook was set to private and her posts started changing. No more selfies and passive-aggressive inspirational quotes. Suddenly it was all pray for our family during this legal battle. Evil forces are trying to tear us apart, and I won't let the enemy steal what God gave me to protect. Stuff like that. I stayed quiet, I didn't comment, I didn't message her, I didn't take the bait. But then she showed up at his school. 2 days ago, Tuesday morning, my phone rang while I was in a meeting with my boss. It was the school. My stomach dropped. I answered immediately, and the secretary told me, in the most calm but clearly panicked voice, that my mother had arrived unannounced and was demanding to see my brother. She brought a Bible with her. She was crying, mascara down her face, holding that stupid book in one hand and a laminated photo of him as a toddler in the other. She kept saying things like, "The devil is turning my baby against me and I'll break the spell she has him under." Security had to escort her off the property. My brother didn't even see her. Thank God. His teacher had been notified beforehand, and they got him into a quiet room with noise-canceling headphones the second the office radioed them. The principal called me personally, said she'd never seen anything like it, that they were filing a no trespass order, that I should consider doing the same. I filed one that afternoon. My dad hasn't shown up yet, but I know he's not far behind. His lawyer sent mine a letter accusing me of alienating parental rights and unduly influencing a minor with known communication limitations. Translation: they think I manipulated my nonverbal autistic brother into not wanting to live with them, like he's a pawn, like he's a doll they misplaced and now want back because someone else cleaned it up and started loving it better. What they don't know is that he's talking more, not full words, but signs, sounds. He's laughing more. He hasn't stim-rocked out of fear once this week. He sleeps through the night. He signs safe when I give him his pillow. I think they underestimated how much he remembers. Just because he doesn't speak doesn't mean he forgets. I'm overwhelmed. I'm scared. I'm so tired my teeth hurt. But I'm also okay. I'm okay because for the first time, I know I'm doing the right thing. Not the easy thing, not the legal thing, the right thing. Tomorrow we have our first custody hearing, emergency temporary guardianship. My lawyer says we've got a strong case, but nothing's guaranteed. My parents are trying to say the officer provoked them, that my mom has a nervous disorder that made her throw the purse, not rage. My dad is claiming he didn't touch the cop. He just raised his hands in a passionate plea. Their lawyer wants visitation rights to preserve the bond. There is no bond. There's just a memory of being abandoned on concrete steps while the sky turned black and your parents argued about how exhausting you are. If the judge gives them supervised visits, I'll deal with it. But if he even suggests shared custody, I don't know what I'll do. This isn't about me anymore. It's about a kid who didn't ask to be born into a family like this. A kid who makes duck sounds when he's happy and wears his shoes on the wrong feet and cries when he sees other people cry. He's my brother, and I'm not giving him back. Update 2. The judge granted me emergency guardianship. My mom screamed in open court and called me a demonic usurper. My dad tried to follow us to the parking lot after and had to be physically stopped by bailiffs. I'm writing this from my car in the courthouse parking lot. My brother is in the back seat eating a muffin and watching his iPad with his headphones on, completely oblivious to the fact that our entire family just exploded in a courtroom not even 20 minutes ago. I haven't even driven away yet. I just needed to sit here and breathe and try to process what the hell just happened. So, we won. For now. The judge granted me temporary emergency guardianship of my brother. It's not full custody yet, but it's a massive step, and it means that my parents have zero legal authority over him right now. No visits, no contact, nothing until the next review hearing in 90 days. But getting there, getting to that ruling, Jesus Christ. Let me start with this morning. We got to the courthouse around 8 a.m. My lawyer met us in the parking lot and helped me get my brother inside without running into our parents. We sat in this tiny waiting room with gray chairs and those old beige walls that make everything feel like a DMV for trauma. My brother clung to my arm, not scared exactly, but definitely tense. He doesn't like strange places, and he definitely doesn't like fluorescent lights or people in suits. I had his fidget popper and his weighted lap pad, and we practiced a couple of signs together while we waited. Then they called us in. I don't know what I expected, maybe something sterile and calm, but the second we walked in and saw my parents at the other table, my mom already crying into a handkerchief like she was on a soap opera, I knew this was going to be a nightmare. Her lawyer started by saying they'd made a mistake that night outside the school, that it had been an emotional lapse, not a pattern of abuse, that my parents regret their outburst deeply and were attending counseling in church to recenter their family values. Then they accused me of manipulating my brother, of using my financial independence and emotional access to poison the well against them. They said I took advantage of their temporary distress to seize control and escalate a manageable situation into a custody battle. I wanted to laugh, I really did, but my lawyer squeezed my arm under the table like, don't give them anything. Then I spoke, or tried to. I brought photos, texts, the police report, copies of the school's no trespass order against my mother. I read part of the transcript from the 911 call the officer made while she was throwing her purse at him. I showed screenshots of her Facebook posts where she referred to me as Judas and a witch in disguise. I explained his routine in my care, what he eats, what shows he likes, how he's communicating more every day. I told the judge he hadn't had a single meltdown since leaving their home. That's when my mom stood up and started screaming. I wish I were exaggerating. She literally stood up mid-proceeding, pointed her finger across the courtroom at me, and shrieked, "She's a demonic usurper. That's not her child. That is my child. She stole him from me. The devil is in her mouth, Your Honor." The judge immediately told her to sit down or be removed. She refused. My dad tried to grab her arm and calm her down, and she slapped his hand away, still yelling about God and demons and how I was hexing her through my filthy lifestyle. I'm not even religious, but the level of unhinged she went into made everyone in that room visibly uncomfortable. The bailiffs had to walk her out. My dad followed behind her, mumbling apologies and something about how this is just stress and she's not usually like this. Sure, man, tell that to the cop she clocked with her 9 West purse. After they left, the judge took a long pause. Then he turned to me and said, "For the record, your composure is noted and appreciated." Then he signed the guardianship order right there. I didn't even cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. I just held my brother's hand and nodded. I felt like stone, like if I let myself feel anything, I would crumble into pieces on that cold-ass floor. As we were leaving, I got to the lobby first and noticed a security officer holding the doors. That's when I saw my dad standing outside, watching through the glass. The second he saw us, he stepped toward the door. The officer told him he needed to leave or he'd be escorted off the property. My dad said, "I just want to say goodbye. I just want to talk to him." He didn't say my brother's name. He just said him, like he's some object that got lost in the divorce. When the officer refused again, my dad tried to push forward, tried to push through the door. The bailiff stepped in and physically shoved him back. I saw his face twist into something I haven't seen since I was a teenager. That same boiling, passive-aggressive rage he used to get when he thought we were embarrassing him. And just like that, he left. Didn't yell, didn't scream, just turned and walked away like a man sulking from a poker game he lost. I don't know what's coming next. Their lawyer will probably appeal. They'll fight this. Maybe they'll play the mental health card harder next time. Maybe they'll try to flip the script again and say, "I'm doing this for money," or some personal vendetta. But none of that matters right now. So that's it for now. I am going to update again after the first full week with guardianship and what happens next with the appeal. Update 3. My parents filed an emergency appeal. Claiming I kidnapped my brother with help from a cult, my job found out and HR called me into a meeting about my social media exposure. I think my mom messaged my boss pretending to be a concerned stranger. It's been 6 days since the court gave me temporary guardianship of my brother. 6 days. That's how long it took for my parents to start trying to blow my entire life up from the outside. I thought things would calm down after the hearing. I really did. I was stupid. I thought the court ruling would draw a line in the sand, but all it did was throw gasoline on whatever rotting fire my mom's brain is cooking in. Because apparently now she thinks this isn't just a custody issue. She thinks I'm part of some child-snatching satanic cult and that I've been brainwashed by witchcraft lesbians. Her words, not mine. And somehow she's trying to get my job involved. Let me back up. Last Thursday was the first day that really felt normal. I made pancakes with my brother before school. He signed pancake with this little slap motion on the table that he used to do when he was like 6, and we made Sunday breakfast together. He even tried using his iPad speech app unprompted. He pressed the button for happy 3 times and then pointed at me. I almost cried, not because it was sad, because it was simple. It felt like a real life, like a family. And then Monday hit like a brick to the skull. I was in the middle of my shift. I work in tech support for a mid-sized software company, mostly remote with the occasional in-person client meetings, when I got a Slack ping from HR asking to speak as soon as possible. My stomach dropped instantly. No context. Just a meeting invite link. The second I joined, it was 2 people from HR and one of our regional directors. They didn't waste time. One of them, let's call her Linda, said they'd received a concerning email about me, allegedly from someone claiming to be a concerned member of the public. Linda read parts of it out loud, and my jaw literally dropped. The email said I had unlawfully taken custody of a disabled child, that I was facing active criminal charges for interference with parental rights, and that I was sharing details of the case online for clout. The sender didn't sign their name, but included links to my Reddit posts. Yeah, this post, this whole saga, the URL was right there in the email body. I felt like I'd been sucker punched through the screen. I didn't say anything for a second. I think my brain was just stuck in static. Then I asked, "Do you have the original sender's email address?" And they did. It was a Gmail account with a weird string of numbers, but it included part of my mom's old Etsy shop name in it. I knew immediately. I told them flat out, "That's my estranged mother. She's been harassing me since I took emergency guardianship of my brother after she and my father abandoned him at his school for 5 hours. They've already been arrested once in connection to this case. The courts are aware. CPS is involved. I can forward the legal documentation to you." They were stunned. Linda kind of blinked at me like she'd just walked into the middle of a Netflix show halfway through the season. I sent them the court order, the police report, and my lawyer's contact. It took about an hour to clear things up, but the director actually apologized by the end of it and told me I was handling this better than most people would. But still, the fact that my mother is now trying to weaponize my job against me, that she found this post and thought, let's ruin her career, that level of vindictive obsession is terrifying. And it gets worse, because the same day, my lawyer called. They filed an emergency appeal. My parents are now claiming I manipulated the court with falsified evidence, and that I'm a member of a social media cult targeting vulnerable families to separate children from their God-appointed guardians. They're trying to get the guardianship order vacated on grounds of fraud, mental instability, and reputational defamation. They cited this post. Again, said I was using my brother as a sympathy token to go viral. My mom apparently even printed out one of the comments that said, "Your brother is lucky to have you," and highlighted it as proof that I'm building a following to steal children from good Christian homes. It would be funny if it didn't feel like I was being stalked by a cult leader with access to legal resources. Meanwhile, my brother is just living his best quiet little life. We built a blanket fort in the living room last night, and he fell asleep under it while watching Finding Nemo. He's eating more, smiling more. He still flinches sometimes when the doorbell rings, but we're working through it. He started tapping his chest twice this morning, his way of saying me, and then pointed at me and signed safe. Just that. Me. Safe. I had to go cry in the bathroom for 10 minutes while he played with his kinetic sand. I don't know how this next appeal hearing will go. My lawyer thinks we have nothing to worry about, but my parents are relentless. They've made up this entire fictional universe in their heads where they're the victims of a conspiracy and I'm the villain with a YouTube fan club and a dark agenda. I don't even have TikTok. Anyway, I've started documenting everything. Every voicemail, every fake account, every random call from a blocked number. I'm ready, or I'm trying to be. The next update will come after the emergency appeal hearing next week. If they show up with crosses and holy water, I won't even be surprised at this point. Update 4. We won the appeal. The judge permanently terminated my parents' rights and called their behavior dangerous and delusional. My mom collapsed, screaming in the court hallway, and had to be removed by EMTs. My brother just asked if he can call me Mom. I don't know how to start this. My hands are shaking and my heart feels like it's somewhere between my throat and my spine. I keep staring at my phone like I need someone to tell me what just happened was real. We won. We won. We fucking won. My parents' appeal was not just denied. The judge formally terminated their parental rights. My guardianship isn't temporary anymore. I'm his legal guardian, permanently. My brother is safe. No more supervised visit threats. No more emergency hearings. No more lawyers circling like vultures around my paycheck trying to prove I'm some internet witch cult kidnapper. It's over. But of course, in classic fashion, they didn't let it end quietly. So here's what happened. The emergency appeal hearing was this morning. We were told it would be quick, procedural mostly. My lawyer wasn't even nervous. The appellate court had already reviewed the initial custody case, the arrest record, and the mountain of evidence we submitted. The fact that my parents were even granted a hearing was just a courtesy to due process. No one expected fireworks. But my parents showed up with gasoline and a goddamn match. The second I walked in with my lawyer and my brother, who wore his Spider-Man headphones and held my hand the whole time, I could feel it in the air. The tension. My mom was already red-faced and whispering furiously to her lawyer. My dad looked like he hadn't slept. My gut told me something was coming, but nothing prepared me for what they pulled. Their lawyer, some new guy they hired, older, loud, clearly fishing for dramatic effect, stood up and said he wanted to submit new evidence, a character witness. I could feel the blood drain from my face. He turned to the door and motioned. In walks this woman I'd never seen before, probably mid-40s, conservatively dressed, cross necklace, the whole concerned church lady aesthetic. She introduced herself as a longtime family friend and spiritual counselor who was there to testify that my parents were loving people of God whose child was stolen from them in a moment of emotional weakness. I nearly laughed. Out loud. I looked at my lawyer, who just shook her head like, let them dig. Then the woman started talking about how she and my mom prayed together for the demon to be cast out of my brother. She said, and I swear to every god on this planet, that autism is a test of faith, and sometimes children need firm spiritual realignment to be returned to God's favor. The courtroom went dead silent. I locked eyes with the judge, and he just looked tired, not angry. Not shocked. Just tired in that way you get when the worst version of people keeps proving itself. He interrupted the woman mid-sentence, asked her directly, "Are you suggesting that the child's disability is something that can be prayed away?" And she said without blinking, "Yes, Your Honor, I've seen it happen." That's when he told her to leave. Straight up dismissed her as a witness, said her testimony had no place in a secular court of law. Then he looked at my parents and asked, "Is this the argument you want to make? That your child is defective and was stolen from you by someone who simply showed him consistent care and safety?" They said nothing. My dad looked down. My mom started crying into her sleeve. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear into his own skin. The judge leaned forward, took a breath, and said, "The level of delusion, neglect, and spiritual abuse presented by the biological parents is not only concerning, it is dangerous. I find no reason to believe any of their actions are in the best interest of the child. Therefore, I am terminating all parental rights effective immediately. Guardianship is granted to the sibling petitioner with full legal authority and decision-making power." I didn't breathe until I felt my brother's hand squeeze mine. After the hearing, everything got even more surreal. We walked out into the hallway, and as soon as the door clicked behind us, my mom dropped to the floor screaming, like full collapse, wailing like someone died, which, in her head, maybe someone did. I don't know. EMTs were called. She was removed from the building on a stretcher, still shrieking about how I'd cursed her, and how her son was being taken by the shadow. My dad followed her out, but didn't say a word. Not to us, not to the bailiffs, not to anyone. And just like that, they were gone. I don't know where they are now. I don't care. I blocked every number. I emailed every mutual family contact and told them if they try to mediate or help us reconnect, I will go no contact with them too. This isn't about grudges anymore. It's about safety. We got home a few hours ago. I made macaroni and cheese, and we built another blanket fort. Same as before. Same routine, but it felt different. Lighter. My brother kept looking at me while we ate, like he was thinking really hard about something. Then he got up, walked over to me, tapped my arm, and signed, "Mom." Just that. I thought I'd misread him at first, but he did it again. Tapped his chest, then mine. Me. You. Mom. Dot. and I just lost it. I held him and sobbed into his shoulder while he patted my back like I was the one who needed soothing now. I don't know if I'll ever really feel like I deserve that word. I don't know if I'm doing this right, or if I'm screwing it up a little every day, but I know he's safe. I know he's happy. I know we're building something real here, something new, something not poisoned by their version of love. I don't need them. He doesn't need them. We've got each other now. No more updates unless something major changes. I just wanted you all to know how it ended. Thank you for holding me through this. You changed our lives.